Welcome to Coastal Front. Join us each week as we sit down with the movers and shakers of Vancouver to discuss stories of business, politics, accomplishment, and failure. Our aim is to keep you dialed into what matters most in our city. Now, here's your host, Andrew Johns.
Super. I'm so excited to have you here today. We have Sandra Filosof-Schipper.
Very good.
You're the PPC, the People's Party of Canada candidate for Vancouver Quadra. Thanks for coming today, Sandra.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, I'm excited because you're the first, other than Maxime, who I know fairly well, you're the first People's Party person I know that's running as a candidate in this election. So I'm really excited to get your view on this and see how much you echo the actual party. One of the things I like about Maxime is that he's not, as we talked about before we got on camera, about whipping people into their certain beliefs. He's a big believer of letting people have independent thought, and I'm a big fan of that. And it sounds like you are too.
I really am, and we've got 315 candidates running in this election, which is remarkable for 1 year's work. It's been a year, just over a year. And that is something I really like because I'm not going to agree with everyone, and I don't want to just toe the party line. I'm not a professional politician. Yeah. I'm a citizen, and I also firmly believe country above party. Yeah. So when, Max told us, bring your own thoughts, bring your own ideas, and I know there's some things I'm not going to agree with the other MPs, assuming we all get in there. Yeah. And that's okay. We can have an honest discussion. And Maxine keeps saying this. You hear it again and again and again. We can have a discussion. Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily guarantee of where we're going to land, but that's important to me. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That's great.
And
now,
I know,
when did you become the candidate for Vancouver Quadra? Summertime?
Yeah, early
how
summer.
Did you get, how did this become, because you said you're not obviously a career politician.
Nope, I'm not.
What's your background? Maybe you can speak to that for a moment, and how you got to becoming the candidate for PPC in Vancouver Quadra.
Sure. Well, I just start from the beginning. Yeah. I've been saying this to everyone. I consider my family an immigrant success story. Okay. I was born in Istanbul. We moved here in 1971. Okay. And I don't know if it's a typical story. My dad had a little bit of capital, not Vancouver kind of money, but that's a whole other game now. Yeah. But he started a business and we grew and it was good and he's always happy to be here. Now, when at the time my parents were deciding to move out of there, they wanted to go somewhere with more freedom, somewhere you didn't have to wonder about your government, where corruption wasn't normal. And they looked at other countries, but my dad came here. He liked Montreal, and then he saw Vancouver. Yeah. And it was spring and the pink trees were out. Called my mom, this is it. This is where we're going. Really? So here we are. So
and out of interest, I don't want to digress too much, but what was Turkey like in the 70s? Was it a bit of a hostile environment for citizens, or was it?
No, it wasn't then, but they saw the writing on the wall a little bit. They saw changes coming and it came to fruition much later than they expected. Yeah. But yes. So the whole freedom thing, they're very, and I use this word as it's meant, they're very liberal, as am I, which is why I'm running with the PPC. Yeah. and they just wanted that kind of environment, and that's why they chose Canada. So here we are. And now why I started, I'm seeing that kind of starting to be eroded just a tiny little bit at a time. Yeah. And I kind of wonder, I worry. Now they're telling us what to say and what we can't say. And
I feel like it's more than just a tiny little bit at a time. It seems
I think
like
it's
every
going
to turn around. It's like there's more of a big brother or big government.
Big brother, statist mentality. I have a problem with that. And it's always the people that are going on and on about freedom that are the most willing to take it away from someone else. Yeah, sure. And we have to be free to disagree.
Well, the whole narrative on the far left seems to be one where we want to be inclusive and diversity. Yet the reality is they're not inclusive unless you think along their lines. I mean,
they're exclusive, and also
I
think
it's such an irony. It
is an irony, but they don't see it, and it comes from a place of privilege. And I hate to use that vernacular of the day there, but it's actually kind of racist also when you start dividing people up by their race, their religion, their background. And, I've been called a white nationalist. For heaven's sake, I'm barely white.
Right. Yeah.
and I'm being accused of is a racist party. Have you looked at our lineup of candidates? So no, the answer is no, they have not. If you click on the page, you will see multicolors, last names from all over the world, people with thick accents running as our candidates. And they're just not even bothering to look. They saw a meme on Facebook.
That's the problem with the trolls and the internet. They go deep research for them as a second click on a Twitter account, right?
Yeah.
And they don't really look at they look at the surface only.
Yeah. And none of them actually look at Max's platform.
Yeah.
And you go listen to speech after speech. There's nothing hateful.
No, not at all.
And my favorite one is fascist. He is literally the only one that wants to increase Canadian freedom.
Right. Yeah.
Literally the only one.
It's amazing.
And they're calling.
Well, I know. I'm a big fan of Maxime. I think it's great. But let's not let my bias come into this play. Let's get into some specific topics that are sort of important topics for residents of Vancouver Quadra, which I'm one of. One of the things is about the pipelines. And there's a lot of people who don't believe in having more pipeline, producing more traffic in our waterways. And right now, I think the stat is that we have one oil tanker about once every 3 days.
It's slightly more than that, but not a lot more.
Yeah. But there would be a huge increase with the doubling of the Trans Mountain pipeline.
Yeah, it depends who you ask, but about one a day is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm pro-pipeline.
Okay.
And not because I love oil spills or anything like that. I don't. I live here too. And when I'm not doing this, I'm playing outside somewhere.
Yeah.
So it is important to me. The thing about the pipeline is if Canada fully gets out of the oil business, doesn't do anything in it, we stop driving, we stop doing everything, we're not going to make a lick of difference in the world, okay, in terms of our carbon footprint and all that.
Yeah.
There are lots of reasons for the pipeline. So if we have this pipeline, we're actually going to have a smaller footprint because the oil right now is traveling down south toward the States, getting on a ship and moving around the Panama Canal and then going to Asia. So we need to kind of get a more direct route. That leaves a lot more room for spills and stuff. And by the way, nothing's spilling in the Panama Canal because the Panamanian captains are captaining these ships. It doesn't matter who owns them. So this is also our rule in Canada.
Yes.
We get towed by Canadian tugboat drivers.
Yeah.
And so it's not just any Yahoo with a ship can come in and do whatever they want. And since the tragedy of the Exxon Valdez, that actually changed the laws in the whole world. All the ships that come up and down anywhere near us are double hulled.
Yeah.
So I think the chances of a big spill are really limited. I went to a couple of lectures and talks about pipelines and stuff, and what I'm hearing about the newer, more current safety measures make me feel a lot more comfortable about this.
Okay.
But now I want to go back to where is Canada's place in the world's oil business.
Sure.
So right now, what oil we produce, and we're still bringing in a lot from Saudi Arabia and other places in that region.
Right.
And we have to actually wonder,
we're importing a lot from Saudi Arabia going into Eastern Canada.
Yeah, Eastern Canada.
Yeah.
And
processed at Irving oil centers.
Correct. Yeah. And then we end up sending some of that down to the States at a 25% discount.
Yeah.
And they charge whomever else as much as they want for it, or the world price.
Yeah.
That's our money.
Yeah.
And worse, it's being subsidized by tax dollars up here in Canada because the oil and gas industry is getting subsidies.
Yeah.
So that needs to end. But
so that's what I find fascinating. Let me just hold you.
We're actually subsidizing the Americans here.
Is the two parties who have been adamant about ending crony capitalism, ending the subsidies for big corporations, are the People's Party of Canada and the NDP. And it's amazing because there's it just goes to show you how certain policies some Canadians can really come to agreement on, even if a lot of other things they don't agree with.
We're all Canadian.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I'm jumping around a bit here, but people keep asking me, PPC, tell me about that. Are you left wing or are you right wing? I can't even count how many times I hear that. I just say no. And there's more than one choice.
Yeah.
It's
and that's what Maxime always says.
Yeah. That's those aren't the only options.
Yeah.
Right?
So you are pro-pipeline.
I am pro-pipeline, and we are pro-pipeline.
If you were an MP in Ottawa representing Vancouver Quadra, are you comfortable already with the current standards to ensure there is no spills, or would you look to advocate to increase to minimize the probability of a spill even further than the standards we see today? Okay, I don't know the standards that well, but
I've done a little bit of work, and I'm happy with it. But if someone comes out with a even better policy, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Obviously, but it's good to be sure, but it's even better to be absolutely sure.
Yeah.
So back to my point, the thing is, if Canada was not in the oil business, it would most certainly still exist.
Yeah.
I trust Canada the most to, first of all, with the revenues, we're not going to be funding foreign wars like in other places that they do. If you wonder where the money for Yemen is coming.
Yeah, sure.
Figure that out, okay?
Yeah.
And then we are the ones that are going to uphold spill procedures and stuff. I can't speak for any other country's spill procedures and their protocols, but I know we will do a good job because we care that much.
Right.
I also can't speak to any other country's employment standards for the people out in the oil fields. That's not a safe job always.
Yeah.
So I know Canada will do the best job at it. The most important part is we are nowhere near, we as in the entire world, nowhere near an oil-free economy. We're not there. So in the absence of an economic replacement, we may as well just be the best at it.
Sure.
At the same time, the PPC will continue funding the scientific community.
Yeah.
I mean, we also want to end up in an oil-free world for the most of us. We do. Some of us are deniers, but that's fine too. We're going to end up in the same place.
Yeah.
Whether you call it this kind of pollution or that, even if you don't believe in climate change, you can believe in pollution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we need to get there, right?
Yeah,
so
100%.
For me, that's not even a discussion anymore.
Yeah.
That's a religion.
Yeah.
You can't separate the politics from the science anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
If you believe in pollution, then we need to be acting.
Okay. So if we look at the Liberal Party, I mean, you're up against Joyce Murray.
Yeah.
She's a well-embedded candidate, incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
The Liberal Party of Canada announced last summer that we had a climate crisis, and then the next day they bought a pipeline.
Yeah.
And what I like about people like you...
We bought a pipeline.
We did.
We all bought a pipeline with our hard-earned cash.
Our taxpayers. Taxpayers bought a pipeline. What I like about what you're telling me is not so much about that I agree with your view, but you actually take a side. And what I find is odd about the Liberal Party of Canada is they say one thing and then they do another. And it seems like it depends on who they're in front of, who their audience is who they decide, how they decide what their narrative is going to be like. Like, how can you call a climate crisis and then buy a pipeline the next day?
Or get on a private plane.
Or two of them.
Or two.
I haven't seen the latest.
And then send it back for your kids so they didn't have to miss a day of school.
Yeah. So what are your views on the Liberal Party buying this pipeline with Canadian tax dollars? And yet we haven't seen, I mean, if they were going to have that kind of conviction and make that kind of investment, you'd think that we would have seen some kind of result. And it's been 12 months. There hasn't really much that I've seen.
I don't believe that they believe in investment. I mean, hearing, I've been in these debates, hearing Joyce, they're having trouble discerning between what is an investment, meaning it will yield future benefits, and an expenditure or expense. Right. So what I'm hearing is being called investment is really just money being thrown away or not expected to give returns. So I don't know if they bought it just to make sure it doesn't happen. That could be. It's a little disingenuous.
Yeah.
I think their goal is to get reelected. It's not a very principled stance. You say what you will about the other parties, but they're consistent about what they believe and what they want.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Any more comments you want to make about pipelines? I mean, you sound pretty clear on it, but if there's anything
I'm pretty
else.
clear.
Okay.
It's just that if we're not doing it, someone else will.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't matter.
Okay. Great.
We need to be the best at it. I trust us to be the best at it.
Yeah. Okay. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Okay, Sandra, let's jump now to affordability of housing. Okay. Another big topic in your area.
It is.
I'm assuming this is something you're hearing from some of your constituents?
I am hearing it a lot, and I wish I think our provincial and municipal government needs to be a little bit more active there. There's only so much the feds can do.
Yeah.
So our party wants to lower taxes, so at least you'll have a little more money. We want to lower the debt.
Sure.
A lot. We're the only ones that are actually talking about attacking it within one cycle. So, and we can talk more about how we're going to come up with the money for all that.
Yeah.
Which is, we want to end corporate welfare right there.
Yeah.
Like right away, wean everyone off of it and get it gone. That's billions of dollars every year, and that's also in an environment of historically very low interest rates.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do when if we don't do anything different? Just interest rates go up.
Yeah.
That's going to be even more. It's our third biggest expense.
Well, we're paying $26 billion a year.
billion, and our whole health care is 40.
And that's at all-time low interest rates.
Yes, all-time low.
So if interest rate, and it doesn't take much to double when your interest rates are only at 2%. If interest rates are at 6, then to double, you got to go. But it would take very little for our interest rate costs to go from $26 billion a year to $52 billion a year.
It would take very little.
And that's a lot of money. And
that's more than our whole nationalized health care.
Yeah. Yes. And what I'm wondering, Sandra, it seems to me like one of the challenges that people like you have is trying to get Canadians to understand that, because I feel like
it's a lot of money. They can't tell the difference between millions and billions if you're not paying attention all the time.
Yeah. Not only that it creeps up on you over time, right? That's why I think it's valid to say that this is a cost that really our children are going to be paying more so than ourselves.
Exactly.
Because you can carry this debt for so long, but eventually you get yourself into a situation.
Well, you got to pay the piper. The bonds are going to want to be cashed, et cetera, et cetera. So and also
let's going back to affordable housing though. Like what are some of the things if you were elected as MP for Vancouver Quadra? What are some of the things, can you give me some specifics on the things that you would be doing in Ottawa to advocate for better, allowing people to be able to afford a home? Sounds like you're saying one of the things is actually to start off by
having more money in your pocket.
More money in your pocket.
So that's good. I mean, I would advocate. And again, there's a lot of provincial. Yeah, sure. Maxime Bernier first wants to get the debt down to something manageable, and then within a couple of years be able to drop the tax rates to 2 tax rates. 15 flat if you're earning under $100,000 or less, and 25% as the maximum marginal rate. Yeah. And that'll just simplify a lot of things. He wants to end boutique taxes, and that'll just make it a lot easier, even just in managing that. As I know so few people that can do their own taxes.
Oh, for sure.
Including me. And I'm not dumb. I mean, it's just, I do business. I've that's my education as well. And if I need help, everyone needs help.
I mean, that's why companies like H&R Block do so well, because it's become so complex.
The tax code is so complex, and people are not able to take advantage of the breaks that you may get. Yeah. And I'd rather see just no breaks and a nice lower rate. Yeah. Nice, clean, and simple. So that is one way the federals can do it. But our main problem here is it's here, Vancouver, and also Toronto. Yeah. And that's because also a lot of all the immigrants come here and there. That's where they want to be. So it drives up the demand. Yeah. And so what we need to do, and this is more municipal and provincial, is let the builders build. Okay. I was looking into this, and this isn't a federal problem, but I do want to address it. I looked, if you want to build a building, you're a developer, and you have the money, you're ready to go, you found your spot, you're 1.5 to 3 years from breaking ground.
Right. That's amazing.
That's amazing, and that's normal.
So Sandra, are you implying then that one of the issues we have in Vancouver Quadra for people who are having a hard time, I mean, I look at you, Ross, I mean, you have, there's 5 of you that live in a home? Yeah. There's five guys. I'm sure it's a great place to be on a Saturday night when you're hosting a party, but so, and how much do you guys pay each?
It comes around, it's about $1,000 per person.
Per person.
And you have 4 roommates.
Yeah, and they got
so if you had a wife and a couple of kids.
Yeah. So when we look at that, and you look at the cost of housing in Vancouver Quadra, which is very high, it's like some of the postal codes in our sort of neighborhoods are some of the highest cost homes in the entire country.
Square foot, yes, they are. Per square foot, they definitely are.
So your view is that there's not enough supply?
That is one view. Yeah. There's not a lot of supply. There are foreign buyers that are coming in and parking their money. It's not an investment if you're not yielding a return.
I mean, my neighborhood is full of empty homes. Even with these empty homes tax, which I think they're actually the residents or the owners, I think, are just falsely, they're either paying a ton of tax, which I doubt.
Yeah, or they're lying. I mean, so we had to go click online.
Well, if they lied to get their money in the country in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think they'd have a problem with lying.
If they laundered their money to get here in the first place. Yeah. A little white lie that I actually live in this house is probably not that hard.
Yeah, and I saw another interviewer was asking about, and I had to look it up, but apparently there's a lot of smuggling in of people selling them false citizenships.
Oh, is that right?
All this. So that's happening in Vancouver too. Yeah. So, which is unfortunate.
So you figure maybe supply would increase
supply will help, and I want as a PPC person and someone who values liberty in general, we don't need the government to be too heavy-handed with this. We still have to allow freedom. When they first told us you have you have to vow that this is your house and you live in it. I said, what if I don't live in it? What if I want a house that's empty? It's my house. It's my property.
Right.
I think private property laws are part of, just the
strong society.
It's a strong society.
Yeah.
But then I can sort of also understand that people are parking their money here. And as I said, parking it, not investing it. If you're parking it and leaving, if you're buying it and leaving it empty, it depletes the rental of the available rentals.
Yeah.
And you're just not really investing. Because, you know, if you have an investment property, you want to get that rental revenue. That's when it's an investment. So they're parking it because it might not be above board money, as you said.
Yeah.
They might have lied to get it in here in the first place. Yeah. So that does make me nervous. I hate that people who live here have to go out and swear that it's ours and et cetera, and the people that are going to lie anyway.
Yeah, sure.
But
good point.
I don't like that.
But it sounds to me like what you're saying is that it's a supply issue, but part of the problem is at the government level, provincially and locally.
Yeah.
If you were actually to be able to fast track these developers' projects, you'd bring out a lot more supply, and then you would be able to have
that would drive the price down. I don't know if it would drive the price down, but it
should. I mean,
it should. It'll help. That's one thing.
Absolutely.
We could talk about limiting foreign ownership in general.
Yeah. Would you be supportive of that?
I don't know if I like that idea either. It's a bit of an attack on liberty.
Yeah.
But it's something we could look at. Again, as Max would say, we could have a discussion.
Right. Yeah.
I would look at it. Part of me says no, it's against liberty. I myself have a place in the States but I pay tax and I rent it out.
Yeah. Well, I had a podcast a little while ago with Tom Davidoff, who's one of the professors at UBC in urban land economics. And he and I believe, he supported my belief on this, which is that there's actually an economic benefit to having foreign owners come in, especially when they're buying like ultra expensive homes, because they're not affordable even if their prices drop by 50%.
Yeah.
A house that's $20 million and drops by 50% is still $10 million.
Yeah.
That's not affordable.
It's not going to help anyone at this table. Yeah.
And so like one of the things that I don't want to digress too much, but one of the things I believe we should do with property transfer tax is we actually should lower that tax for very high-end homes as long as they get changed hands at least once every 2 years. Because the only time that government, like realtors, it's funny, realtors and government, provincial government are aligned in property transfer tax. Realtors make money when houses move, not whether prices go up or down. And the government also only makes money on property transfer tax when the property transfers. Yeah. Right? So, but that's
interesting.
Yeah. So I think there's a merit to encouraging foreign ownership of these ultra high expense. Let them just, play a game of musical chairs with each other.
And then we get that tax revenue.
100%. Why not?
That's interesting. I think let's think the other way. If we eliminated that tax, then other people would that reduce the barrier to entry for ownership.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's something to consider too.
Yeah. Yeah. Any thoughts at all about all the changes in mortgage rules that the Ministry of Finance has implemented to make it
more 30 years?
Well, no. Like, for example, like these stress tests where now if you want to qualify for a mortgage, you have to have 2%. Yeah, you have to qualify at current rates plus 2%. You can't get an insured mortgage through CMHC. Yeah. If the house value is over $1 million, which is virtually every home.
Everything. Apartments. Yeah. So, I'm not. I think measures like that might just defer insolvencies for later, push them down the pipeline a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Different pipeline.
Yeah. Different pipeline. Exactly. Okay. Let's jump to the Wikipedia page on Vancouver Quadra. Want to just quickly look at the current riding, and let's scroll down to the last election. So you're obviously up against Joyce Murray. Mm-hmm. She's a well-embedded Liberal candidate.
Oh, she's a fixture.
She's a fixture for sure. She's been in this role since 2008. So it's been 11 years. So this is her fifth go at this. The last election, she got 57% of the vote.
Yeah.
31,102 votes, of which those last two were my wife and I, neither of who had ever voted Liberal before.
Yeah.
Because I was quite inspired by Justin Trudeau. I'm not inspired by Justin Trudeau today. I'm actually quite disingenuous. Like, I think he's just...
when you say inspired, I gotta know. So I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah.
What inspired you? I'm curious.
I was inspired by, I do think we should look at the voting system, and I do like the idea of doing something different.
Proportional representation.
Yeah.
Which he didn't deliver.
No, he said that if you vote for me, this will be the last time it's a first past the post.
Okay.
And actually for the PPC, it's probably better near term to have a different system, because the reality is it is a, first past the post means that only a small part of the population gets represented.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Green Party, for example, they've basically only had Elizabeth May for the last decade, yet they consistently have on average around 13% of the popular vote.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. He said that he was going to do politics differently. He did a great sales pitch, and I bought it, and I'm not buying it anymore. But that was my rationale back then. I also felt that Stephen Harper, when I look back at that at the time, I felt that he had too much of a stronghold on the party, and that this whole philosophy of, sticking to the party policy is something I definitely don't like.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, because the way I see it is you said earlier, I think just before we started filming, if everybody has to be so whipped that they have to go with whatever the party leader says, why are we even doing all this?
Yeah, why are we doing this? Why are we electing MPs?
Why? Yeah. Let's just do like a presidential election. So we could have Jagmeet and Maxime and Justin and these guys, and they can all just run, and we all just vote for whoever we think. Yes. That's it, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's why I'm really excited to see, for example, Jody Wilson-Raybould.
Yeah,
I don't even necessarily agree with her views on everything. I'm just glad to see some strong independents hopefully get reelected, so they can kind of help spread the vote and not disrupt things a little bit.
I'll tell you, I gave money to Jody's campaign way back then. I told her this too. She sat next to me at a debate. Yeah. And because she's likable. What I don't like is that she's not one of us. Yeah. And we don't agree on everything either. But yeah, I agree with your point. It's nice to see an independent out there, a strong independent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's strong.
She is. Yeah. So it was 56. Now let's maybe go back to the election before that. It was quite a big difference. In fact, I think it's interesting to see that Joyce got 42% of the popular vote, only slightly more than this Deborah Meredith in the 2011 election. So she just squeaked through in 2011, but blew the lights out in 2015. And I wonder how much of that was just a Harper protest vote.
I think it was a Harper protest vote, and I think a lot of people were very excited about Trudeau. He's young. He's fresh. He's liberal. He says all the nice things, and the word conservative is kind of a dirty word. Now liberals kind of been conflated with all sorts of other things that aren't so great either. Yeah. So maybe it was more of a protest against Harper. Yeah. He's like, someone told me we in Canada we don't vote people in, we vote people out. Yeah. So there might have been some of that. That's probably likely
what's going to happen in this next election.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of protest votes. Mine won't be a protest vote, but I still won't be voting for Trudeau. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, Joyce has she's been reelected 4 times in a row, and there's bound to be people showing up at that voting poll who are basically undecided walking in. They're still not sure. Maybe they're a sort of left-leaning liberal type that's kind of deciding between NDP or the Greens or the Liberals. Yeah. Or maybe they're just a pure swing voter like me who can be open to anybody, any party, any individual. But at the end of the day, when they get to that ballot box, they check Joyce and they don't check somebody else they were kind of thinking about. Yeah. What do you think it is that is motivating those people in the end? What's kind of pushing them to just check that Joyce box and not somebody else, like not check Sandra, not check Kathleen?
Because it's familiar, and it's the devil, and I'm not saying that she's the devil here, but it's they already know it. They say, okay, we're just life isn't so bad right now. It's kind of nice, so I'm just gonna keep voting this way. They're not. The outrage factor isn't there like it is for me. I had a very nice life, but now I'm running and I don't sleep and I don't get to eat much and all that, and that's okay. I'm happy to do it. Yeah. But because the outrage factor was there when my taxes are through the roof and the government is literally getting more of my hard-earned cash than I am, and between property sales, whatever taxes there are. Yeah. And that bothers me a lot. And when this whole culture of control I don't like that. I can't live with that. My family came here because of the freedom in Canada. Sure. And that's the freedom to think what you want, do what you want, as long as you're not bothering anyone. Yeah. But now you're not even allowed to say anything. Yeah. I can't have that. Yeah. Okay. I can't have that. It was very sad. I asked my dad, I said, what happens if it gets worse? What are you thinking? And he goes, I'll have to go back to Turkey. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's
wow.
with President Erdogan. I mean, he's a semi-dictator. I think if we're getting that point where people are wanting to move to Turkey from Canada, no knock against Turkey, but
I know.
Then we're in real dire straits. Well, let's talk about money for a moment. Let's talk about balancing budgets. The Trudeau government basically came out with their latest figures, what they're on their current platform, where they basically have now pretty much said, we're never going to balance the budget. We're just going to keep running deficits.
Keep pushing it down the line.
They're projecting $197 million. It's so interesting they chose not to get to 100. $97 million is what $1 billion is what they're expected to incur in additional deficits in the next 5 years. What is the PPC's position on this, and what's your view on this?
Our position. We think that's a bad idea. Yeah. And we want to eliminate it. And as you and I talked about, it's like your credit card is already maxed. I mean, you're going to get to a point where you're unable to make the payments on that card, even if you're willing to live with a max credit card. Yeah. That is where we are. Right. So right now, as it is, they brag about, the Liberals are bragging about how many jobs they've created. They've created no jobs. They have taken money from the taxpayers and doled it out to other people. Government cannot create jobs. The market can create jobs. Exactly. That's it. So anything, the jobs the government created, yes, someone's getting handed a paycheck. Yeah. It's not sustainable. Yeah. So when we run out of people actually making money, making surplus, able to afford things other than food and shelter, and if they're taking it away, you're not going to have that pot of money to give to you. It's going to drive up interest rates. So it's going to be debt or taxes. Right. So eventually you can't draw whatever the saying is, you're not going to get any more money, blood from a stone, because if there's no blood there. And then it means you're just going to go further into debts, which means further and further, longer and longer, our kids, their kids, are not going to have the opportunity to prosper. And that is anti-freedom. It's not just about money. Yeah. It's also about power and control. Mm-hmm. So this wealth redistribution programs really is frightening to me. It's anti-freedom.
So what would the PPC do if they were in a position of power? Maybe we have a minority government with the Conservative Party, and there's enough MPs that get elected in our PPC that they are now kind of hold the balance of power. What's the type of things that the PPC would want to do?
It's right on our. We really want to reduce the welfare, the corporate welfare. It's also anti-free market. It's taxpayer dollars going to support a handful of people. In the worst case scenario.
And what kind of industries out of interest? I don't know if you've dove into this enough. Do you know?
Well, there's Bombardier is getting them. There are all sorts of small ones too. Those are the big ones. Maple Leaf and the oil and gas industry. Those are the big ones. But
you know the one that bothers me the most?
GM bothers me the most.
GM? Oh, did they get a lot of money?
They got some money, and then they hauled out of Canada.
Right. Oh, but was that the Oshawa?
Yeah, that's the Oshawa plant.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's.
You know what bugs me the most, and one of the things I really love about Maxime Bernier, and I think unfortunately was the reason why he lost the Conservative leadership bid, was supply management and the dairy farmer cartel. Cartel.
And we're still on that. I mean, because you're not really, if you're doing that, you're not taking care of Canadians. You're taking care of a small group. That means every single one of us has to pay more to help a small group. I'd like the idea of every single one of us paying a bit to help everybody. Yeah, that's our medical system. It can be run a little better. We got the strip torn off of us by a doctor, but that's not us, but all of us on a panel at a debate. Yeah. So the other parties as well. But that to me is it's either cronyism or just bad business. The idea is to create jobs, but it doesn't create. If there's no market, you're not going to create jobs. You're going to have to. So it moves jobs. So this company that wasn't getting the help is going to lose the job. So if you're selling a product, the demand is probably finite. Yeah. Or inelastic for whatever product it is. Yeah. And so you're just moving money around. Yeah. And the part that really bugs me is the guys at the top of these companies that made the bad decisions that got them into some sort of near insolvency, if not actual insolvency, are still getting their bonuses and their fat paychecks. Sure. As a private business person, if I make bad decisions and have a bad year,
you don't
I'm
get paid.
on my own. I don't get paid. And this has happened. There are years where, the ownership takes less than the employees, and that's fine, because then next year we're gonna still be there and make money next year. And that's the idea. And it's very unfair. It's anti-competition. It's anti-freedom, and it's a real waste of taxpayer dollars.
So one of the ways in which the PPC would basically save us a lot of money as a country is just get rid of all subsidies altogether. Yeah. What about the CBC?
Yeah, that's right up there. Yeah. That's right up there. At the very least, the news portion and all news portions is $600 million, and it didn't go to just the CBC. It went to other news outlets, but
mainstream media, not the Rebel.
Not the Rebel media, not others either. No, Rebels, they're the loudest. But you don't have to like the Rebel.
Yeah, you could even take the other left-leaning ones like the Observer or Tyee. They didn't get any money either. And that's not okay. Either they get it or no one gets it. That's how I see it. Yeah, sure.
So that's got to end. And also Canada Post, that's got to get privatized.
Yeah, Canada Post just announced their they get huge losses every year, but there was something where they lost. What was it? Something like I don't know. It was like $7 million for. It was something, one of the strangest things. I don't know if you can find it, Ross. There was like it came out in the news just in the last couple of weeks. On Canada Post, you just look for Canada Post losses. But I know that the Conservative government under Harper had planned to basically get rid of home delivery and have these boxes. And they actually even started installing them in Eastern Canada. And
like they would in a subdivision. Yeah.
Which is actually not that inconvenient. It's pretty simple. You get to also see your neighbors easier than you can,
I wonder about someone that doesn't have good mobility, though.
Sure, but I'm sure you can create some kind of measure to help offset the to deal with that. Okay. I mean, the amount of savings you're going to have by those kind. So do we find it on there? No. Anyways, they had some loss, but I do agree that I think Canada Post needs to be completely rejigged.
Yeah. There's just too much competition, and it came about in a time where there wasn't all these other delivery services. That are doing a better job. I mean, you mail a letter. When are you going to get it? You courier the letter, and it's just going to be like the next day. If it's local, it's going to be faster than that. So,
now one of the things that the NDP have been big on is, and I'm not sure about the other parties, but I was just thinking about this last night, and I'd curious to get your thoughts, or if you know what the PPC's position is on this, is to do with big media giants like Netflix and Amazon and whatnot, who don't have, they don't pay, maybe not Amazon, but definitely like Netflix and these other media companies that stream videos and whatnot, and they're not paying taxes in Canada. What are your views on that?
I think if they're working in Canada, they should be held to the same standards as a Canadian competitor. Yeah. So they should. So otherwise we're allowing another country to benefit from our taxpayers and our market. Yeah. So I would say they need to. I don't even know if there is an actual Canadian Netflix. I mean, I know we've got Netflix.ca, which is a Canadian version, but it's not. I don't think it's owned by Canadians.
No, it's owned by Netflix.
Yeah. So.
But basically, they don't pay any tax in Canada.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting thing to see how this pans out. I mean, I'm looking forward to 10 years from now when we see how we manage the whole internet and electronic business. Yeah. And how we've decided to deal with that in terms of regulation or taxation. Yeah. So
now you hear Maxime Bernier often quote this phrase. He says over and over again, the People's Party of Canada represents the fundamentals of, and it's something like freedom and
respect and fairness and self-reliance.
Can you talk to some of those items?
Sure. The freedom to pursue your dreams and to say what you want and do what you want. The respect is to have the respect from government and for government. The government, I don't like that they can walk in and make decisions for us, including your property, including your including First Nations, which is a whole other topic on its own. So we need.
Look, one of your constituency groups is, Wright is Musqueam, a very large First Nations band here in BC. Yeah. What is your position on First Nations? Where do you?
Well, Maxime just announced a plank on First Nations, and I think probably more filled out than it is in my head. And I have actually asked Maxime this myself because I care about that. And
but what's your view? Let's say, I mean, you might not know. My
personal view?
Yeah. What's your, I mean.
Well, I didn't know until I started going to politics that, that the reserve system is just that. Land is reserved, but it's not really theirs. It's kind of theirs to use. Yeah, so Maxime is talking more about actually giving them the land, like in the way you or I own our houses. Sure. They don't own the reserve the way you and I own our property, meaning that they can't leverage it for investment, and they can't really do anything without talking to the government. And that's a huge poverty trap, and that's Max's words. It's a poverty trap. Yeah. And I think there's something to that. Yeah. Land is wealth. It always was, and it still is. Yeah. So there's just because they have a place to plant their house doesn't mean it's really theirs.
No, not if they don't have proper ownership over it.
That's right. Like a freehold title. Yeah. So that's where he's going with that, and I think that's going to help with poverty rates in general. There's no reason that these guys can't be as enterprising as everyone else, and so many are, but they shouldn't have to leave the reserve to accumulate wealth. Sure. Unless they want to, and that's fine too. Yeah. But it's about half and half, and the half that lives off reserve does financially better. Yeah. So I don't think that's right. Yeah. I mean, they should be able to if that's what they want. They could still live collectively if that's how they so choose. Yeah. So that's important. Also, back to the pipeline for just a moment. That will catapult these people into prosperity. Okay. Yeah, and the bands that are affected by pipeline. That's
they'll
really
be able to generate revenue or negotiate.
Negotiate and its value. It has tangible value. Sure. So I think that's going to be great for them.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now, Sandra, one of the things that I've been, a supporter of Maxime since he left the Conservative Party and launched the People's Party.
Were you a supporter before he left?
Of Maxime? Oh yeah. Like since I've known about Maxime since pretty much when he ran for the Conservative Party.
The leadership.
I'm not actually a member of the People's Party. I'm actually not a member of any political party, but I donate to mostly individuals. I don't even donate to parties, although I think I did donate to the People's Party. Just because I liked what he was doing and trying to help it get off the ground.
We need every cent we can get. We're a new party.
Yeah, you don't have the kind of liberal conservative budget. Yeah. But one of the things that I've been criticized of, or people criticize me for, is saying, well, you're splitting the vote. You're actually going to make it harder for the conservative government, a conservative party, to get a seat and get more seats, and so therefore you're just going to end up.
We're going to get another 4 years of Trudeau.
Yeah. And then I look at it and go, well, I mean, you could also make the same argument on the other side, because there's like left-leaning voters who are going to say, well, I got a choice between NDP, Green, or Liberal. And I had Hetty Fry in here the other day, and she actually spoke about this. And I think she was specifically addressing this because I think she's worried about the Green Party capturing more votes.
She's right.
In the Vancouver Centre. And so she was trying, I think, to encourage people who listen to this podcast to vote Liberal simply if they don't even like the Liberal Party, because they don't want to have the Conservative Party. Because she actually said, I said, are you talking about a strategic vote? And she said, yes. And I don't like that idea.
It's unprincipled.
I know I just don't think I wouldn't want to see people voting
I'm not
out
going
of strategy.
To do that. Yeah, obviously.
So do you have any comments or thoughts when people say to you, I'm sure you've heard it because you're running.
Yes, I do hear it. And I heard that.
You saying, you're taking votes away
Funnest one was the troll, but that came up to me in Kerrisdale and was like talking about splitting the vote and splitting the vote, and that accused me of being a Trudeau operative.
Oh, really?
Oh my. Okay. Yeah. But first of all, you need to vote your principles, or else you're just going to keep getting what you got. Yeah. So that is one thing. As far as strategic voting, splitting the vote, there are a lot of Liberal supporters for our party because, when it comes to free speech and compelled speech and corporate welfare, we have very Liberal party, typical Liberal positions on those. Sure. We're not just an alternate Conservative party. Yeah. Because it was socially, Maxime, as you know, is quite liberal, even libertarian. So we're not an alternate Conservative party, even though fiscally our views are quite conservative, more than the Conservatives. Yeah. But not socially. Yeah. So I think we're getting attention from traditional Liberal voters. but we have a lot of undecided voters, swing voters and undecideds. And I think we're going to pick up a lot of votes from there, because now a lot of people don't even vote because they're indifferent.
Yeah.
We're closing that gap. Because we've got something that you're not going to be indifferent about. It's not going to be kind of two sides of the same coin thing. Do you like red or do you like blue? That's where it is. We've actually got something different to offer.
Yeah.
So I think people are going to be surprised on voting day.
Good. Let's have a quick look at the map one more time here as we go to wrap this up. This is Vancouver Quadra, and you can see. I think, is this the old one, Ross?
That's the old one.
I found the small one, but it's just a tiny picture. So
it's Arbutus and West.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only slightly different.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating about this, Sandra, and I don't know if you have any thoughts or comments about this. I did ask Kathleen and Leigh both about this. Is you've got a very wide mix of people. You've got the First Nations in Musqueam.
Yeah.
You have a huge swath of students and other people living out permanently at UBC. You have, your professional, 30-year-old millennials that are living down in Kitsilano.
Yep.
You've got the kind of more, maybe white collar working professionals that are in Dunbar and Point Grey. So you gotta somehow collect a lot of, you gotta inspire a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. Any thoughts about that?
Well, so with some areas are more friendly toward us than others, just because of our positions on taxation. And there's
have you been doing a lot of door knocking?
Yeah, I have, and I've got a few volunteers.
What areas do you find are kind of really
Parisdale is good, and our area of West Point Grey people are good. You get into Kits and all that. There's like, oh, you hate the environment, you're gonna kill us all. Oh, okay. or whatever else, you're a fascist. Like, do you even know what that means?
Yeah, sure. Amazing.
Yeah, that's the young people. They got all head up. I'm sure that's what I was when I was young too. Yeah. I don't remember, but yeah. So yeah, we.
But you still got to win some of those votes. Right?
We do got to win some of those votes, and the ones we talk to are that haven't already made up their minds are amenable to hearing things like no corporate welfare and et cetera, and people talk about we want less immigration than the other parties.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a contentious issue.
Now, that's interesting. I think we should talk about that for a minute, because you're an immigrant.
I am an immigrant. A lot of our PPC candidates are immigrants. Yeah. Right.
So are you anti-immigrant?
No, I'm not anti-immigrant in any way, and neither is the PPC. Otherwise, our number wouldn't be 150,000. It'd be closer to 0.
Yeah, sure.
Right, or something like it. We'd call for a moratorium, but that's not at all it. We need to. These are like pre-2015 levels. It's not. This is not radical.
Yeah.
On a per capita basis, these 350,000 people numbers are higher than the U.S. and any European country.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. And also, I have to ask you, do any of these people that are proponents of that 350,000 number consider our absorption capacity?
Sure.
Where are these people going to live?
Yeah.
Where are they going to work?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So if you're not considering that, you are setting these people up for failure.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, they are not going to get to live the Canadian dream. They are going to.
It's amazing listening to you talk, because you're basically speaking what I've been preaching to my own staff in my kind of breaks.
Yeah.
Here's my issue with the immigration. I feel like what we see happening with the Liberal Party and Justin Trudeau is they love to have this big fanfare.
It's virtue signaling.
Totally. As these people come in, especially the one I'm most concerned about are refugees. Because these are people coming from war-torn countries, people who've spent many, many years, maybe a decade, of having planes flying over and dropping bombs, not knowing if they're going to live, to the next morning. These people come with very serious PTSD, and it's nothing wrong with these people, but let's admit to what they're dealing with. They're coming in with very serious PTSD, and they need resources. They need to get themselves up on their feet. Might be a lot more work than maybe someone like your father and your parents who came over from a non-war-torn country. And the problem I have is these people get fanfared in. They get big cameras and lights and show, and look at how many immigrants, look at how many refugees we're bringing in. And then the cameras and lights go away, and these people are all bunked up into a hotel They don't have,
and they're isolated.
They're isolated.
Yeah.
They're not integrated
They're
into
mentally
society.
isolated,
They're
not
mentally
just physically.
Isolated. Absolutely.
So,
they're
this
not
is a
given
problem.
the proper, counseling that they probably need, mental health medication.
And this is what I'm talking about. We're setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
That's the absorption capacity. Yeah. So liberals brag about how many people they brought in on the point system. 26% were brought in as economic migrants. We want to up that quite a bit. So we're going to focus on economic migrants. So people like my dad or whoever else with skills that have acquired marketable skills, they're going to hit the ground running. They're not going to need a lot of attention when they're landed here. Yeah. They're going to come here and live the American dream, the Canadian dream.
Canadian dream.
So and that's kind of what we want to focus on. So yes, immigration, and yes, we need people to come here. We were built on immigration. Maxime said it 1,000 times, even though he gets no credit for it.
Yeah.
But he does. He says it at every speech. And that's good. So we want to focus on that. On the refugees, we still want to help refugees. We are Canadian. We do have heart. Yeah. We want to focus on people that are persecuted minorities and from war-torn countries like the LGBTQ community in certain countries in the Middle East and the Uyghur Muslims in China. Yeah. They need help. Yeah. They need to get out of there.
The Rohingya Muslims.
The Rohingya Muslims. Yeah. The Yazidi Christians in Syria. These people are the ones that need help. The ones that are coming up from Roxham Road from U.S., the slam dunk richest country in the history of man. Yeah. I don't think we need to rescue them so fast. They need to knock on the front door and apply. Yeah. Don't need to slide into the side door. Yeah. That's not acceptable.
To me, when you claim refugee status, you really have to be saying like, if I stay where I'm at, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna be killed. I'm gonna be tortured.
Yeah.
When you're a Nigerian who snuck into the United States illegally, and now you're just worried about Donald Trump picking you up and sending you home. So you walk across the Canadian border.
I think it's really frightening that Mr. Trudeau says he'll accept those people. I have a problem with that. Yeah. In the old days, including my dad, every person used to have a face-to-face visit, and Bernier wants to bring that back in. Right on. You get an interview. You've got to make sure it's a good fit, not just for us, but for them. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
If you're not liberty-minded.
I like this, Sandra. Let's go to your website. Let's just pop this up here. So the website address is...
I think it's ppcvanquadra.ca.
Yeah. So
there's me. They should put my picture up there. Maxine's wonderful, but...
So this is the People's Party of Canada.ca. Oh. Ross, do we not have... I thought we had Sandra's...
Oh, okay, that is the...
And so, Sandra, you've got... Can you use people helping you out? If people want to help you out, how do they get in touch?
They need to get in touch via the website. Okay. So ppcvanquadra.ca or through my Facebook. Yeah. You can find me. Or
let's get your name. Your spelling. Sandra's easy, but let's again. Your last name. You pronounce it as
Filosof-Schipper.
Filosof-Schipper.
It's 2 names. We hyphenated, thinking we were so modern and egalitarian. Turns out it's just kind of inconvenient.
Nice photo of you there.
Oh, thank you. My friend took it.
So if they go to your, so let's just get the spelling right. So Sandra, 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 and then your last name.
Filosof-Schipper, Filosof-Schipper.
Okay, great. And you are the very first PPC Vancouver Quadra candidate. I hope you have lots of success.
Thank you.
We're only how many days away? It's the 4th today, so we're only 17 days.
Yep.
Wow.
Day 17.
Well, good luck with it.
It's been a great ride so far.
Look forward to seeing how you do in this upcoming election.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Great. Thanks, Sandra.